Hello and welcome to another episode of the Binteger's podcast. This is episode number 21, the Binteger's podcast. My name is Binyam. I'm glad to be here hosting on this show. This is the place where we talk all things integrity. Integrity calls and wholeness responds is our tagline, which I was reflecting on yesterday, and I love that tagline. Integrity calls and wholeness responds. That's been my primary motive for putting together this podcast is one, to be able to share my experience of how integrity has enabled me to experience wholeness and how you too can also experience this sense of wholeness, this sense of completeness instead of being divided. So many of us in this life are feeling tossed and turned and pulled apart because we just haven't figured out how to be able to experience things in life in a way where we're all there. There's usually a sense of regret or a sense of guilt or a sense of something lacking because we just can't sync everything up. And this is why I love this commitment to walking with integrity, because it helps us to know ourselves. It helps us to walk into confidence, to own who we are, and to advocate for that in this world. And today we have a very interesting topic that I want to talk about. It's Friday evening. For most, they are looking forward to going and having a good time on the weekend, whether at the bars or with friends. Tonight, even after these podcasts that I'm recording, I'm going to be going and joining some dear friends at a going away farewell party, which is kind of sad, but it'll also be great, and I'm looking forward to it. But the topic we're going to talk about in this podcast today is how to get sex with integrity. How to get sex with integrity. And I talk about this, one, because sex is one of those subjects that I grew up not knowing how to talk about. In my community, it was a very awkward subject to have. And yet it's a very integral part of most of our lives, isn't it? It's an integral part whether you're getting it or whether you're not, right? There's those who are enjoying healthy relationships and where there's plenty of intimacy that is expressed sexually. And then there are many of us, however, who are not in relationships or perhaps who are in unhealthy relationships, and still we desire to experience this element. So it's a normal part of our existence, and I think one of those topics that we need to talk about more often to take away the taboo factor. And I want to talk about how to get sex with integrity, because from my observations, so many go about it without integrity, and there's a lot more challenges. There's a lot more pain. There's a lot more awful things that can happen, especially in this realm here. And so I've got some ideas I want to share with you about how to get sex with integrity. But before we get into that, let's quickly do a feelings check-in. We devote time to a feelings check-in on this podcast because this is our way of encouraging in the moment practice of the discipline of integrity by being honest with ourselves, being honest with how we're feeling, being honest with where our state is emotionally in this moment. And we do this because it's easy to talk about when we're excited and happy, but it's more difficult to describe and express when we're having challenging experiences. So in this moment, oh my goodness, let's see here. I just came home from work. I'm feeling a little frazzled because I want to be at this party with my friends tonight. I'm looking forward to the time there. And this one friend who's on her way out, she's going to be gone for a few months, and so I want as much time there. But I have also committed to this podcast, and I was at work trying to finish the work that I needed to do on time. It was just one of those settings where you're just watching the time. So I'm feeling a little frazzled, not frustrated, but also uneasy because I want to get my commitments and my projects done first before I go and have fun. But then the storyline in my mind that I'm tempted to believe is I'm going to miss out and not have a good time, and I won't have as much time as I'd like, and I want to maximize that time. And so I'm saying, no, it's okay. This is important, and this is what my commitment is. And so that's where I'm at in this moment, just a little bit uneasy, a little bit frazzled, but also expectant. I'm anticipating something wonderful tonight. I was talking to some friends recently about how there's a thing called social anxiety where you're nervous about your upcoming engagement socially with others. I don't get social anxiety. And so I was really grateful for that because I look forward to these opportunities. I don't approach them saying, I wonder what's going to happen. I go to them saying, this is going to be an amazing time. We're going to have a great sort of experience together, and I can't wait. And so there's a sense of expectancy and excitement as well at meeting new people. Dear Binteger, how are you feeling in this moment? I would love to hear from you. I'd love for you also just to take a moment here to pause this podcast if you like, just to do that drop in and check with yourself. And as you're doing so, to practice affirming it, to practice saying, hey, this is okay that I'm feeling this. These feelings are necessary for me to express what it's like to be me. You may be feeling some good things. You may be feeling some challenging things. Whatever you're feeling, just take that moment to acknowledge what it is and to resonate with it and say, I'm glad that I have this ability to feel. So many do not have this ability to feel because they've sort of squashed it down and numbed themselves. And that takes away the flavor out of life, doesn't it? But regardless of where you're at, I would love for you to just take that time, honor yourself, and honor those whatever is under the radar there for you to experience that way. All right, let's dive into our topic now, how to get sex with integrity. Oh, goodness. This is, I'm excited about this because I've got some ideas. I've got some ideas because I've done this in ways that lack integrity. If you don't know my story, part of my story is that I have been unfaithful to my ex, who I was married to, and brought some tremendous heartache and heartbreak to her, to our kids, to my community. And I've also hurt others along the way in my pursuit of wanting to experience sex. Sex is a beautiful thing. Sex is a beautiful thing to experience in life. And yet, we can go about pursuing beautiful things in ways that lack integrity and have a lot more consequences in the deficit category. Excuse me. And so that's why we're talking about this. So how to get sex with integrity. The heart of what I want to say here is that integrity doesn't let us cut corners. And so to get sex with integrity, what we must really desire more than sex is to experience integrity first and foremost. See, integrity is one of those funny things that just does not share very well. It says, I want everything on my terms. And it says that because it has a specific way in how we go about experiencing it and the benefits of it. And so, for many of us, if you're like me, there were many times when I really was desperate to experience sex and intimacy and connection. And yet, going about it in the wrong ways, there was more harm done. There was more harm done to me and also to others as well, too. And so I would say the very core of this theme here, it's important to acknowledge that before, even greater than our desire for sex, which is a good thing, we must first desire intimacy. That is the driving motivation that must be holding sway. Because when we attend to integrity first, when we attend to pursuing integrity first, it's still good to have those desires for sex, but now we have a blueprint, a game plan for how to go about experiencing and enjoying sex. Does that make sense? Without integrity, pursuing sex leads to so much damage, I believe, where there's a lack of communication, where there's a lack of boundaries being expressed, where there may be consent that's violated, where there may be dishonesty on display, like in my case. So many things that could happen if we pursue experiencing sex without integrity. So integrity, when we commit to integrity first, it gives us this blueprint to enable us to experience and enjoy this beautiful gift called sex. Does this make sense, my dear Binteger? And so further, here's some things that I believe integrity will walk us through to be able to experience the beautiful aspects of sex, because we've attended first and foremost to doing it with integrity. Number one, consent is prioritized. Consent is prioritized where all parties are fully capable and able to make decisions for themselves. That is, they're not drunk, they're not inebriated, they're not passed out, they're not high. Like, there's the ways that the mind can be altered so that it is not in its prime form for making decisions. Okay, so just because someone says yes, it's still important to understand the context. Is this person who's saying yes to sex, are they really drunk and they just don't know what they're saying yes to or no to, right? Are they asleep perhaps? Like, all these parameters. So consent must be prioritized, and those that you're engaging to connect with must have full awareness of what the intentions and all the surrounding circumstances are. This is a courageous conversation to have, and it's a necessary conversation to have. Many may think that this will dampen the mood, but I don't think it does. It actually clears a lot of space. Furthermore, the consent should be very enthusiastic. It should be ongoing. It should be like, hell yes, all the way along. And it should also come with the understanding that consent can be revoked. At any point, any party could say, actually, I changed my mind. I don't feel comfortable going forward. And that has to be honored. That is what integrity entails in pursuing sex. Secondly, second to consent being prioritized, there must be clear communication. Communicate really clearly. Discuss your desires. Discuss the boundaries that you have or the expectations that you are coming to the table, and do this before you engage sexually. Check in regularly, saying, how does this feel? How are you thinking about this? What do we need to talk about as we're going forward? Check in regularly and be honest about your likes and dislikes. Be honest about those things. Communicate clearly. That's a really important component. Furthermore, have conversations about what safe sex looks like. This is not an area where you can dabble in without consequences. Have those conversations where safe sex is part of that communication. Talk about your sexual histories, for example. Talk about when's the last time you got tested. Test yourself regularly and share those results. I share the results of my sexual tests with all those that I interact with in relationships. And negotiate and talk about using barriers like condoms or other options. And also, as you're having this conversation, be respectful about the different boundaries that some have. Some may have a boundary over here. Respect those and don't try to manipulate or push or step over those boundaries. Be honest and respect those boundaries while you're having this conversation. Furthermore, pursue mutual pleasure with this person. Don't be selfish. Don't just be in it for yourself and just sort of like check out after you've been attended to. Look for ways of how you can serve the other, even as you make this a mutual engagement. So prioritize their pleasure as well as your own, in essence, right? And I mean, above all, in the midst of all these conversations and interactions, pursue honesty and transparency. This is the thing that I did not have for so many years that caused such tremendous loss in my life. So be honest about your intentions, be honest about your expectations, talk about the potential risks and the concerns and the worries that you may have. Allow all parties involved to make informed decisions by giving everything that they need to know. Be transparent right up front about it, and that builds trust, right? And this is, I believe, the path that integrity wants us to follow as we consider how are we going to experience this beautiful gift. Once again, let me just reiterate in summary. Sex is a beautiful thing. I want to normalize conversations on sex. This is not an uncomfortable thing for me to talk about. I have plenty of conversations about this with my friends and my acquaintances. This is part of the way I want to redeem and normalize these conversations about a human thing that we all want to participate in when we're of age, right? But do so in a realm where you're also considering how you're going about it. We love enjoying beautiful and good things in life, but let's do it with integrity, because when you commit to living and walking with integrity, there are some beautiful promises and some beautiful outcomes that come. And when you go about trying to pursue connecting intimately and sexually with someone, committing to walking with integrity in the process in which you want to go about experiencing this is one of those critical things that enables you to step into that realm where all of a sudden now it's a wonderful engagement. It's one that's worthwhile remembering, and it's like, yeah, we're doing this on purpose and we're doing this for the right reasons. And so that's why I am pretty passionate about this, and I want to talk about this on the weekend before you are, maybe you're listening to this afterwards, but in any events, this is what many are looking forward to, I believe, when they're going out to the bars and wanting to connect with people and meet new people. Do it with integrity, because it's so worthwhile. It is the thing that makes life worth savoring. Thank you for listening to this 21st episode of the Bintegers. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.